got your mailbag questions up next on a Kokomo Friday.
Alcantara, Soroka, you look so good in Boca. Peralta, Manoa, bounce back for Aaronola. Giolito, Castillo, Yoshida, Mosu,
Carlo and Fado, value so high, but ADP so low. Frank Love's hit some kind of Joe. Now let's get on with the show.
Happy Kokomo Mailbag Friday, and welcome in to Fantasy Baseball today on March 13th. I am Frank Stanfield, joined by Chris Towers. Today on the show, we are answering your mailbag questions, and we've got a lot to get to. Just jump right in. We are recording this a few days in advance, so hopefully nothing changes. We always have to give out that disclaimer. We are starting with your Apple Podcast review questions. If you enjoy the podcast, drop us a 5-star rating on Apple Pods and leave a question in the review, or just tell us why you enjoy the podcast. It really does help a lot. This first one is from O2_Superman. Head-to-head categories, keeper league with 6 batting categories, the standard 5 plus OPS. Would you rather keep Jackson Chourio for a 12th or Roman Anthony for a 19th? I guess let's answer that question first. There's another one here.
So I think OPS probably leans Roman Anthony's direction.
Yeah.
Even as a rookie, I think he was better than Jackson Chourio by probably 50 or 60 points, if I had to guess without looking. That's probably enough to make it worthwhile, just because it is a 7-round distinction between them. Generally speaking, though, if you're getting a first or second rounder for a 10th round pick, I prefer that to a bigger discount on a worse player. But I think in this instance, the scoring format probably tips it to the two of them being closer anyway, in which case I'll take the cheaper Roman Anthony.
Roman Anthony, 859 OPS last year. Jackson Chourio, 770.
Yep.
So he is a lot like Julio Rodriguez in that way, where he's got the power and speed, but just doesn't walk very much. He's not a big OPS bat, but from a standard 5x5, it makes sense because the batting average should be good and obviously power and speed there. But I think with the OPS in there, it does make sense to take the savings on Roman Anthony. Lastly, who would you take at the 201 if I take Gunnar Henderson first? So it sounds like pick 12 here, back-to-back picks, hoping to take Gunnar Henderson. The options would be Yordan Alvarez with outfield eligibility, Jazz Chisholm, Ketel Marte, Vlad Jr., or Jackson Chourio if I keep Anthony. So currently locked in to keep Nick Kurtz and Caminero. So if I draft Vlad, he would have to be my utility bat.
I think it's got to be Jazz Chisholm, actually, given the options that you're presenting, because among the 4 players you already have in this instance, it's Gunnar Henderson, Roman Anthony, Junior Caminero, and Nick Kurtz. You're probably going to get, 35 stolen bases out of those 4, and 25 of them are probably going to come from Gunnar Henderson, right?
Yeah.
So if anything happens to Gunnar Henderson, your top 4 players, if you don't take Jazz Chisholm, are going to be 15 stolen bases total, right? Like maybe 8 to 10 for Roman Anthony, and then the rest of those guys are a couple of stolen bases. I love Yordan Alvarez, but he's not going to steal bases. So I think you probably need to take Jazz, who I guess is hurt a little bit by the OPS format. I don't really, he's not really a standout in batting average either, but I think the walk rate is like 7 or 8%, maybe 9. So I would think Jazz is probably hurt a little bit by the OPS category, but he's still going to be good for a second baseman, which is where you're going to use him. And obviously, I think you need the stolen bases. So I'll take 30-30 Jazz.
I think that makes total logical sense to go for the steals on a team that is already constructed like this. My first lean was just to take Ketel Marte or Vlad just to continue to build up that batting average and OPS. Just because, like, last year, Ketel Marte had near 900 OPS, and Jazz was like 815.
Yeah.
So,
although, what was Vlad? Like 840?
It probably was not much better than Jazz. It was 850.
Yeah. So at least in OPS, Jazz is not significantly worse than Vlad Jr. I just think from a team building perspective, you would have enough with Kurtz, Caminero, Gunnar, and let's say it's Ketel Marte. You would have enough power that you could make like Chandler Simpson a priority and make up for that there. But one, I'm actually not sure Chandler Simpson's going to steal that many more bases than Jazz Chisholm just because of the playing time concerns. Yeah. And two, it is always so tough to put all of your stolen base eggs in one stolen base basket, because if Chandler Simpson hurts his hamstring, which he did recently in spring training, he's playing through it, but it's possible he's not as much of a stolen base outlier as a result of that. Or it's possible he starts to lose playing time. And if you really lean on him for your stolen bases as a plan, one, someone might just jump the ADP and get him. In which case, well, now you got to take like Jose Caballero or something to have a hope. And that's a bad spot to be in. And two, if something happens to Chandler Simpson, you're just screwed. So I think getting a stolen base source, given everything else that we've got here, should be a priority.
All right, this next one is from Plax. Keep 2 of these 3 for $1 each. Bubba Chandler, Trey Yesavage, and Jack Caglianone.
That's pretty good, but I think it's clearly not Jack Caglianone. As much as we like him as a sleeper, Bubba Chandler and Trey Yesavage are both ranked ahead of him, for me at least. I don't know.
I didn't know if the recent kind of Yesavage handling and the way he's kind of being slow played and 3 to 4 inning starts to begin the season, and we don't know how long that's going to last, and just how good Caglianone has looked. Hit another home run in the WBC the other night off of a lefty in Ryan Yarbrough. So he's had a great spring, and I think we all like him as a breakout candidate as well. I didn't know how close that decision got now, Yesavage versus Cags.
I still think it's Yesavage. I will point out, someone mentioned this in the comments of yesterday's podcast.
Don't ever read those, Chris.
I will read the comments. But Yesavage, he threw 139 innings last season. So, okay, they might limit him early on, but that's more about making sure that they don't have to hit pause on his way to 150. But I don't know if it really changes what our expectations for Trey Yesavage should have been, because was anyone expecting 175 innings from him? I don't think so. And so it's just about making sure that those innings are going to come at the end of the season, if he doesn't get hurt. So I don't know. I'm not that moved by this report. I guess in a head-to-head points league, it does make it really, really tough to use Trey Yesavage for the first month, probably, or first couple of weeks at least. But in a roto league, he might still be worth using, just because if it's either that or some bad pitcher you drafted for your bench, or like a middle reliever, you're probably going to get a similar amount of innings from any reliever. So I don't know. I think you downgrade Yesavage a little bit. I think I've moved him down below that group of second-year pitchers that we've talked about, which includes Bubba Chandler and Cameron Schlittler. But I'm not... I still think he's like a top 140 pick. Cags is more like a 160 pick for me.
Yeah. And to your point about Yesavage, I mean, you mentioned head-to-head leagues. We get so many questions and emails about people looking towards the end of the season and already thinking about like who can help me in the playoffs, right? Like by that point in a head-to-head league, Yesavage should be fully built up, and obviously, like, if he's as good as we saw last season, he's just going to be hopefully like a star pitcher at that point. I don't think we should overreact too much to early in the season there.
The one thing I want to really qualify with Yesavage, though, is we talk about it a lot with Blake Snell. Know yourself and know what kind of manager you are of your fantasy team. And so if you are the type of person who sees your 11th round pick giving you nothing in April and you start panicking and you're like, I'm just going to get rid of Trey Yesavage, don't draft him. They're telling us ahead of time what the deal with Trey Yesavage is, and it's going to be maybe tough in the moment to handle, but you got to have a longer term perspective on these things. And so if you can't do that, if you just don't have the patience for it, don't get on the Trey Yesavage train. But I think it's going to be fine.
I don't want to see a single question this April, Chris. Should I drop Trey Yesavage because he's throwing 3 innings per start? I don't want to hear it.
Even if he struggles, like, because it's also, it might be a weird situation for him where, you know, you're being told not to go full bore, and that can mess with a player's mentality. So it's possible he struggles this April. It really won't change my opinion of him. So,
this next one is from L Boogie Baby. Woo. I need help with my final keeper 12-team 5x5 auction at $10. Who would you keep between Chase Burns, Emmett Sheehan, Kyle Stowers, or none of the above?
Okay, $10. I think all of these guys are probably at least $15 players in my rankings. I would guess Burns is more like 18. So I think they're all fine. Let me make sure. I think Stowers is probably the lowest of them. And he is 15. There you go. Yeah, I think they're all about $15. So any one of them is fine. I would say Sheehan is the lowest ranked. And it's only like a $3 value there. So it's not necessarily a must keep, but I think I would go... I have Stowers ranked ahead, but I'm leaning Burns. I don't know what you think, Frank.
Yeah, Chase Burns is the answer for me, too. Okay. I have Stowers as the last of this group. I think he's fine. You know, based on what we saw last season, he is a breakout candidate himself if he can maintain, you know, that power production. But Burns and Sheehan are 2 names that I am, I guess, much more excited about their breakout potential for this season. I like both. I have Burns ranked a little bit higher, so I'll go with him.
Sounds good.
All right, this next one is from Carter Wiegand. Should I do this trade in a 12-team Roto Dynasty League? I give up Chase Burns and Konnor Griffin. I receive Junior Caminero and Jonah Tong.
Woo! So, in general, I think you would rather have the elite hitter than the elite pitcher. And in this instance, you are giving up probably the second and third best players in the deal and getting the first best. Generally speaking, I think we all agree that that's the way you should do it. What do you think the chances are that on March 11th, 2027, the consensus is that Konnor Griffin is the best player in this deal for Roto? It's probably not 50-50.
There's a chance.
But there's a pretty good chance. Of course, there's a pretty good chance Chase Burns flames out or gets hurt. And there's a non-zero chance that we're talking about Jonah Tong as a huge breakout star in 2026. This is a really, really difficult question to answer.
It's a good question.
I think I lean towards keeping Burns and Griffin.
Same.
But it's really hard to pass up the best player in the deal, especially when that best player is a 22-year-old who just hit 45 home runs.
Yep.
Like,
it is a risk-reward proposition here.
Yes.
Konnor Griffin is the top prospect in all baseball. Could come up this year. We're drafting him as like a second or third round pick next season.
There's a chance by the end of the season, Konnor Griffin goes 20-30, and he is the top player in Dynasty.
Yeah.
Right? Like who I would guess Bobby Witt, probably the top player in a Dynasty draft right now, if you're doing a startup. Just the 10-year age gap between him and Judge, and a 6 or 7 year age gap between him and Ohtani. So Konnor Griffin has a very Bobby Witt-esque skill set. Probably not as strong of a hit tool. Yeah, that's a real tough one. I lean towards just it's not enough of a win to accept.
Yeah,
I think. But boy, that's tough.
Again, like Caminero, we've seen do it already, so it's like it's tough. It really is tough.
And he plays a premium position, and he's not Konnor Griffin young, but he's real young. So that's a real tough one. That's a great question.
Yeah. Again, I do lean just keeping Chase Burns and Konnor Griffin there. Let's take our first break. When we return, we'll get back into your questions right after this.
You think you understand how this business works, but you don't.
I now know why Mommy was so stressed.
What's the plan here?
Landman. New season now streaming. Only on Paramount Plus.
Welcome back in Fantasy Baseball today. It's a Kokomo Mailbag Friday, and we will continue on with your Apple Podcast review questions. This one is from D-Rack. Third overall pick in a 6x6 scoring with batting average and OPS. Would you treat it like OBP and take one of Soto or Acuna? I guess that means ahead of Bobby Witt. So what do you think there? Soto, Acuna, or Bobby Witt in a league that includes OPS as a category?
Witt is relatively weaker in OPS. I don't know if it's that big of a difference. I think he's still a very good source of OPS. Probably worse than Soto or Acuna. That is fair, but I don't know. I don't know if it's that big of a gap to change my mind on these players. Is that, I don't know. What do you think?
So Soto last year, 921 OPS, 263 batting average. Bobby Witt, 852, 295 batting.
But it was like 950 the year before, right?
977.
Yeah.
But
Acuna's best is better. His best was like 1100, I think, in 2023.
Soto's a 920 OPS or better 3 years in a row. So I think Soto's the better bet for OPS. I think Bobby Witt is the better bet for batting average.
Yeah. I guess the question is how
Soto
likely
probably
do you think
Soto the better bet for home runs,
home
and
runs?
RBI.
Yeah. I think you make a case for it.
Witt better in steals. So
maybe. Soto had more steals last year, right?
I mean, yeah, that would be my expectation. Yes,
I definitely expect it, but it's an unknown. I'm okay leaning Soto, I guess, but it's not an obvious change for me.
I don't think there's a wrong answer. I mean, that's the actual answer here. I think they're all fine options. Like, I don't think you can go wrong with any of them, unless, of course, someone gets hurt or just has a down season. But entering the season, it feels like they're all ranked pretty similarly. I would probably lean Soto for the boost in OPS, home runs, RBI.
I think Acuna has the highest ceiling of all three of them, though.
Yeah. I mean, it could be 290 batting average, 40, 900 OPS.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's possible.
I mean, it could be 1,000 OPS, right? Like, this is a guy who walks a ton. You know, he's not quite Soto in that regard, but he's like a 12 to 15% walk rate guy.
Yeah. If you want to draft for floor, which is probably what I would do early on in the draft, I would go with Juan Soto there.
Yeah, and I think in an auction context, all three of these guys are probably $45 players.
All right, this next one is from RPXD. 10-team head-to-head categories. Here are the categories: runs, home runs, RBI, steals, batting average, OBP, and total bases. So those last two are added on.
Why not just slugging percentage?
Yeah.
That's just my thought.
I mean, I guess the way this works out is it's more like a points league with the OBP and total bases added in there. Who should I pick with the third pick of the draft? All right, this is a popular question. I was leaning Jose Ramirez due to third base scarcity, but feared that I'm throwing away my pick by not taking Bobby Witt Jr. or Juan Soto.
Well, I'm the guy who took Jose Ramirez ahead of Juan Soto in a head-to-head points league, and this is basically head-to-head point scoring. So I'm going to say Jose Ramirez, but I think that's not the popular pick. I think I took some heat in the comments for not taking Juan Soto. So
yeah, I had Soto ranked ahead of J-Ram in a points league. So in a format like this, I would go Soto. Look at me, huge Juan Soto fan.
Big Juan Soto. You know, played for the Yankees.
If you want to go for I get the third base scarcity point, and it's like you're splitting hairs between these players. Again, they're all elite. They're all amazing. Mm-hmm. So I would not fault you. I mean, with the OBP in there, man, that really does favor Soto. His OBP is so outrageous. So I would go Soto, but I don't think you are. I don't think you're crazy by any means if you want to go J-Ram.
One wrinkle is it is a 10-team head-to-head categories league. I assume it's 3 outfielders. The replacement level outfielder in a 10-team 3 outfielder league is so high. It's always higher than third base. but you know, your options at outfield are going to be a lot better than they are at third base if you don't take them. But I think it's still probably worth taking Soto.
Yeah, my counter there is that in a 10-team league, I feel like everyone should still be able to get a good third baseman. There's not as much pressure as there is in like a 12 or 15-team league.
I mean, it's, you know, the top 8, I think that's true of. But after Eugenio Suarez in a points league, I've got Max Muncy, Matt Chapman, Isak Paredes, Noelvi Marte, Royce Lewis. Like, I don't like any of those guys very much in a points league. I think your third outfielder will almost certainly be better than any of those guys. But that's probably not a consider. Like, that you could just take Manny Machado if you take Juan Soto, and then it's fine.
Yeah. Manny Machado in the third round. I'm pretty sure he would be there. This next one is from JTP05. I am in a 12-team league where the first pick gets to pick where they draft from pick 1 to 12. So the second pick does the same, so on and so forth. Usually I go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 12. But with guys like Acuna and Tucker available in the 6, 7, 8 range, I'm thinking 1 to 12 is just the order. What would your preferred order be? Categories league 6x6 with OPS and quality starts added.
I'm understanding, right? It's KDS basically, not like a.
You just get to choose where you pick.
So let me make sure I know what I'm talking about when I did my KDS. I think the way I did it for a 15-team league was I went straight through to 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Then I did 10, 11, 12. Then 8, 9, 13, 14, 15. Because I do think there's a drop-off at 7 overall for me. That's Ellie De La Cruz. I'm higher on him than most. So I think there's a little bit of a drop-off there. And then the 11, 12, the 10, 11, 12 would just be, I like one of the pitchers as a fallback. So that's probably the way I would go. Especially this is a 6x6 with OPS and quality starts. So I think those high-end pitchers are even more valuable because they should get a ton of quality starts. And Ronald Acuna, obviously, if you can get him. So I think that's the way I would go.
Yeah.
But maybe you just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then one of the pitcher spots. I don't know.
I would go 1 or 2 first just because I think Judge and Ohtani are above the rest of the field.
That's fair.
And then I might put, if you don't see a big difference between Acuna, Soto, J-Ram, Witt, I probably would go 6, 5, 4, 3.
Okay.
Just because I get the earlier second round pick, right? I'll get whoever falls to me at 6 of those top 6 hitters. Or he mentions Tucker here. If you have Tucker in that tier as well, you could put 7 and get whoever falls out of, those 7 hitters. And then you have an earlier second round pick. So I would probably go 1, 2, and then maybe like 6, 5, 4, 3. And then maybe go like 12, 11, 10, because you get those back-to-back picks and maybe still get one of those elite starting pitchers. So
ultimately, I tend to think it's easier to overthink the KDS stuff than to underthink it.
A lot of times I just leave it 1 to 12. And
it probably doesn't matter.
Whatever happens.
Yeah, it ultimately it doesn't really matter. I do think getting one of the top 2 picks gives you a real advantage this year, especially because I'm not sure there's a big drop-off in the second round. But I think everybody's going to put one. Like, you should put 1, 2 at the top. Mm-hmm. That's not the question. So I think it probably doesn't matter very much unless you get the chance to get 1, 2.
This next one is from Bender's Big Score. Am I nuts for moving Royals hitters up several picks due to the fences coming in? It seems significant, yet not a lot of discussion in the industry. So I know we spoke about it a lot when it was first announced. I think that was back in January of this year. So just to remind everybody, if you're not aware, in Kauffman Stadium, they are pulling the fences in a little bit in the power alleys in left and right center field. They're also lowering the fences a little bit. So it's going to boost home runs a little bit, but it's also probably going to lower batting average a little bit as well. So I think when we talked about this, like the names that would gain the most are the ones that have like the highest pulled air rates. So someone like Vinny P or Salvador Perez or I mean, even like Isaac Collins had a high pulled air rate from last year, and now he's on Kansas City. But I wouldn't overdo it. Like I think you could boost those guys a little bit and use it as like a tiebreaker, but I wouldn't want to like double count it, Chris, and maybe overreact to it too much.
Yeah, when did Vinny P get called up? 21?
That sounds right. Either 1 or 2.
22. Okay, so he has played basically 3 full seasons in the majors because 2 of them were partial. According to the data that MLB.com did, projecting home runs based on StatCast, they would expect about 4 home runs per season more for Salvador Perez, and about 2 to 3 for Bobby Witt, and about 3 for Vinny P. Now, that's not nothing. But does that really fundamentally alter your perception of any of those players? And here's the other problem. That's an average. And the way this is actually going to work out is someone on the Royals is going to hit 6 more home runs than they otherwise would have. And someone on the Royals is probably going to hit 1 more home run than they otherwise would have. Who that will be is impossible to guess. We can guess that there are certain guys who are more likely to benefit. Like when I look at the spray charts, it seems like Salvador Perez has more of those long doubles or long outs than Vinny Pasquantino does. And the data does back that up. I don't know if we should assume it'll be a huge change. And one other thing to note is Kauffman Stadium, they are moving the fences back to basically where they were from 1995 to 2003. And it was an above average base home run park during those years. It's the only time it has ever been. But it wasn't Coors Field. We're not talking we're talking about going from probably a 97 home run park factor to probably like a 103 home run park factor. That's not nothing, but it's only a half a season. And then, like you mentioned, you're going to probably see lower batting averages as a result of this because less ground to cover in the outfield. On the whole, I think it's a small upgrade for all of them, but it's really hard to say exactly who is going to benefit and who's not. It's going to be very noisy on a year-to-year basis, and I think you just move them up a couple picks at best. But I do think that's already factored in to projections and everything like that. So,
yeah. Yeah, I think we're in agreement there. This one is from Scott's alternative account. All right, we got the burner here. Chris, why do you like cats, Brotato Chip?
Why don't people, why do the people who are anti-cat, what is this? This dog-cat dichotomy where you're either a dog person or a cat person. I like having weird little dudes hanging out in my house who every once in a while just remember I exist. And they're like, oh yeah, hey, I love you. And they come up and give you a little bump. And it's it makes you, it's great. I did this morning, my college friend is an elementary school teacher and she asked me to do career day. So I hopped on a Zoom at 8:30 in the morning and warned all the children that I am not a morning person and that I'm not going to be at my full capacity, but everybody seemed to have a good time. And one of the kids wrote me a little thank you note. If you're on the YouTube channel, he drew a little picture of me. It says, I love my job. I'm sitting at my computer. And I just want to highlight how cute this little picture he drew of my cat is. That is the cutest thing I've ever seen in my life, because the cat made an appearance, as she does on the podcast occasionally. And cats are great. My elder cat, Liz Lemon, she comes into my bedroom every night and sleeps in my arms like a teddy bear. And she sleeps like that the whole night. It is the cutest thing I've ever seen. So the question I would ask you, Scott's alternative account, is why do you not like cats? Cats are great. This is a pro-cat podcast, Brotato Chip.
You had to throw the Brotato
But
Chip.
I have a dog. It's not like I'm picking a side in this war.
Yeah. Chris is pro animals.
Yeah,
pro
we
cats.
can. I could probably call Stevie. He's probably sleeping, but my door is open. I could come get him if anybody wants to see Stevie.
That's a big dog. That could get a little bit rowdy. That could get a little rowdy over here. I'm not sure we want.
I don't know if I don't think he's gonna come. I think he's sleeping.
I feel like people who.
Oh wait, there he is.
might not. Here we go. We're getting appearance
Come on,
live on the
Stevie. Look,
podcast.
there you go. Oh, what a good boy.
It's a big old dog.
Oh, he's very sleepy. I'm sorry, Stevie. You can go back to bed.
I feel like the people who might not like cats are ones that either A, have had a bad experience with a cat, like scratched at some point or whatever, just were around a nasty cat or something, or allergies. Like, I know that's a thing for me. It's like, I am much more allergic to dogs than I am cats. And so I don't like being around dogs because they make me feel like crap. So
that's fair. That's
part of it for me. But
I'm lucky I'm not really allergic to penicillin, but no pets.
Yes.
So if you name your cat penicillin, that might be a problem, but otherwise I'm fine. My wife, on the other hand, very allergic to cats. She's a trooper.
Oh, geez. Yeah, that is
it's tough.
That is a big sacrifice, Chris. There you go. All right, this last one is from Hope You Get It Right, who just says, keep up the good work. Can you go deeper into the player pool for 15-team leagues and deeper? So we will have a Deep Sleepers episode coming out next week when you're listening to this. So we will talk about all of our favorite picks outside the top, 250, 300, and beyond. We did this last year, and we rattled off 60 names in 60 minutes or something crazy like that. So we're going to try and get to as many deep league names as possible on a podcast next week. Before we get to your emails, just want to remind people that the FBT listener leagues are coming. They will be announced 1 week from today. That is on Friday, March 20th. And there are 2 listener leagues. One is a 12-team head-to-head points league. That draft will be on Monday evening, March 23rd. Let's say 8 p.m. Eastern time or later. So make sure that you can make the draft if you want to be in that league. The other is a 16-team head-to-head categories for the People League. That draft will be the night before on Sunday evening, March 22nd. Again, evening time, 8 p.m. Eastern time or later. If you want to participate in these drafts, email something creative to fantasybaseball@cbsi.com. That's the letter I. Again, fantasybaseball@cbsi.com. It could be a funny Photoshop, a song, a poem, a haiku, or if you're not the creative type, just let us know why you deserve to be in the league. Make sure to put FBT Listener League in the email subject line. That'd be nice if I can talk. And I will announce the winners again a week from today. Let us know which draft you would like to participate in. Let's get to your emails. I guess let's take a break. Let's take our final break. We'll get to your emails right after this.
You need a hug?
You need a fist?
Crutch.
Crutch, you need anything.
I do have one question.
We didn't mean right now.
Welcome back in. It's a happy Kokomo Mailbag Friday, and we are answering your email questions, fantasybaseball@cbsi.com. And this one is from Owen. As draft season continues and FOMO starts rearing its ugly head, can you give me a 1 to 10 FOMO rating on the following players? Up first, we have The Miz. Nope. I don't have his sound drop. Why do I keep doing that? I keep taking it out. I can only have 8 in at a time.
He is The Miz.
And he's awesome.
That's
Yesavage. What is your FOMO rating 1 to 10?
4.
He's not somebody that I target, but I can see regretting not having him.
I can see it,
put it at
but
a 5.
I don't think it's like. I think it's more likely I regret not drafting Jacob Misiorowski, Cam Schlittler or Bubba Chandler than Jacob Misiorowski. The upside is really tempting there, but I don't know. He's such a weird pitcher because he had a really strong strikeout rate last year. The whiff rates weren't nearly as good as you would think for a 32% strikeout rate guy. Fastball whiff rate is awesome. Slider whiff rate's not very good. Whiff rate is a fun couple of words to say. I'm struggling with Misiorowski, but I think I'm not too worried about it.
Next up is O'Neal Cruz, 1 to 10 on the FOMO rating.
I'll say a 5. I don't really know how to calibrate this meter.
I guess 1 is you're not worried at all.
Yeah.
You have him as a bust, so maybe you should have it lower than 5. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the thing with Cruz, though, is the really high-end outcomes could be really high-end, right? Like, I think the likelier outcomes, the median outcomes are not that different from what we saw last year, not that different from what we saw from like Luis Robert last year, and I just don't think that's a particularly useful player. But yeah, if he gets it to like a 28% strikeout rate and he can handle lefties, I can absolutely see some outcomes where O'Neal Cruz makes me look real dumb.
Yeah.
So I'll say 4. Again, I don't really know. Yeah.
I'll say 6 on Cruz. I've backed off a little bit on the bust case for him. You know, he worked a lot this offseason to get better against lefties. I like Marcell Ozuna being there as like a kind of Latin veteran voice there in the room to help guide and maybe help keep O'Neal Cruz away from those really long slumps that he's gone through in the past. So I'll say 6. I mean, there is a chance that he goes like 250, 25 homers, 40 steals, and he's like a top 3 or 4 round pick again next year. What about Tyler Glass now? 1 to 10 on the FOMO rating.
1. We know what this is.
1. It's no desire.
I think he's fine to have around, but we know what the limitations are. I just don't. Maybe there's a world in which Tyler Glass now throws 160 innings and he's a top 10 pitcher. It's just
it's a non-zero chance, but it's like a 5% chance.
Yeah, we're 10 years in
160 innings. You know.
Yeah, I think we're 10 years into his major league career at this point, or pretty close, and we've gotten 0 seasons of 140 innings out of him. It just seems really unlikely that it's going to happen. And like 160 is probably the absolute peak, maybe 170, but just because they're in a 6-man rotation. So I think it's a lot easier to see ways things go wrong for Tyler Glass now than that I really regret not drafting him.
Next up is Spencer Strider. Woof.
I don't want to have the Spencer Strider talk again. I feel like we have spent more time talking about Spencer Strider than any player, certainly in the last like 2 weeks, but maybe all spring. He pitched again on Wednesday. The results were good, but it was like a C- version of a C- Rays lineup. I think they only had 4 starters in, and one of them was Nick Fortes, who is a starter for them, but
he's bad.
Yeah, so like the results were good. He got 1 whiff on 24 fastballs, 22% CSW with it. He still just looks like a 1-pitch pitcher.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, if I am wrong about Spencer Strider, I am going to really regret it because he's so good at his best and he's so fun and I'm a fan of his.
It's kind of like O'Neal Cruz, but higher end. Like, if he can get back to where he was, he's like a top 10 pitcher.
Yeah, I think it's like a 6, but that's just because if I am wrong, I'm going to really regret it. I just don't think it's very likely I'm wrong, unfortunately.
Yeah, I'd put that at like a 4 or 5. Last 2 names here, we have Luis Robert and Mackenzie Gore, but start with Luis Robert. 1 to 10 on the FOMO rating.
For me, it's like a 3. I'm not too worried about it. I know other people like him more than I do. I just think it's kind of a fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me kind of thing. I'm much more willing to give him the benefit of the doubt for the 2024 season. And then he goes out and has a 2025 that's very similar. And it's like, okay, this might just be who Luis Robert is. And then all the injuries. I'm not too worried about FOMO on Luis Robert.
And Mackenzie Gore is the last name here.
I'm drafting him, so it's not. I'm not worried about FOMO because I'm gonna have him on a bunch of teams. So that's but where I don't, I am pretty worried. So I'd say like a 6. I think Mackenzie Gore has real upside. I know Scott doesn't agree, but that's why he's not on this podcast today.
I would say the number 1 FOMO player for me so far is Konnor Griffin. Just because I don't have him anywhere and the price is rising, and there's a real chance that I just won't get any Konnor Griffin. And if he's up on opening day, I could very gravely regret that decision not having him. So
I usually don't want to ever not have any players, right? Like that. I think that's just, I'm not so confident in my abilities to predict this stuff that I can feel good saying, yeah, I don't want any shares of Yoshinobu Yamamoto, who is a player that I'm out on relative to ADP and who I have not drafted and don't seem likely to draft. But yeah, it's certainly pretty easy to feel like I'm going to miss out on something with Yoshinobu Yamamoto. So he's a FOMO pick for me. Jesus Luzardo, just because I'm a little more out on him, is a bit of a FOMO pick. Chase Burns is kind of just, I'm not sure how likely it is I'm actually going to end up with him. I don't think I've drafted him yet, even though I like him a lot.
I think you took him in a Gladiator draft.
Oh, yeah, I think I did. Yeah, that sounds right. That was
I really
early.
remember because we were at Nick Pollock's wedding, and you're like, hey, I have Chase Burns.
Yeah, but that was in December.
Yeah.
I think the ADP hadn't caught up yet to where it is now. So, yeah.
All right, this next one is from Jerry. I'm in a 14-team Roto League with daily lineups, 10 categories using OBP and saves. We can keep 4 players. I've lost some of my early round draft picks due to trading. I'm very curious as to which 4 you would keep. So he has Ohtani and writes, of course, then Ketel Marte, Nick Kurtz, Wyatt Langford, Jack Caglianone, Ben Rice, Edwin Diaz. I believe the first 3 are probably musts. I usually have a rule that I just don't keep pitchers. However, should Edwin Diaz, being on the Dodgers now, be the exception? So Ohtani, Ketel Marte, and Nick Kurtz are the ones he thinks are musts, which I think we probably agree with. And again, OBP is one of the categories, so that does help Nick Kurtz. And then it feels like it's between Diaz, Langford, and Ben Rice for that 4th keeper.
Yeah, I believe Langford ranked highest of this group. I'm pretty in on him. But
does the fact that you already have 3 awesome hitters, like you just kind of want to lock in that elite closer? You can always draft a closer. You don't have to.
You can always draft a closer. I give me the elite hitter or the good hitter over the elite closer every time. I think it's the way I'm going to look at it. Like, I was just looking, I'm doing a column for tomorrow's FBT newsletter, favorite and least favorite picks in each of the first 10 rounds based on ADP. I think in the 4th round, Edwin Diaz is going to be my pick because he is, I guess I could go with Mason Miller. They're back-to-back in ADP, and it's like, I just don't want to spend a mid-40s pick on a closer. It just does not seem like it's going to be worth it. Diaz is really good. It's not like he's been flawless over the past couple of seasons. There have been 2 different instances where he's lost his job when he was with the Mets. Is that right? Or just the one? There's definitely one.
Sounds right.
I don't think that's going to happen, but it's within the realm of possibility. So I think I hate spending a premium pick on a closer when they really only help you a lot in one category. They're useful in points and ratios, but their impact is relatively muted. So I'm going to take Wyatt Langford over Edwin Diaz.
All right, this next one is from Dan in SoCal. I'm a longtime listener of the podcast and trying to determine my strategy for drafting at the 1-2 turn in my upcoming 12-team head-to-head categories league with daily lineup setting. I am pretty sure 2 of the top 3 pitchers will be available, and I won the league last year with Scooble and Crochet. However, after listening to your latest 12-team head-to-head points mock draft where Scott took Schwarber and Cal Raleigh, I was thinking about maybe going in that direction. However, this is an 8x8 category league where hits, strikeouts, and walks are extra hitter categories. Walks would be great, but I would be worried about average and especially strikeouts. What do you think? Appreciate the help.
So the one thing is every category you add makes each category less valuable, right? Just math. You're going from batting average being 1/5 of your scoring to 1/8 of your scoring. So that's one thing to keep in mind when you're talking about this question. I personally don't love the Schwarber-Raleigh combo. I think in a points league, it's more justifiable, but in categories, it's locking in a bad batting average. Here, you're locking in a ton of strikeouts for those 2. Yeah. And
they're not going to get a ton of hits either.
No, it's going to be a low number of hits.
Yeah.
I think Cal Raleigh, I would be shocked if he didn't lead all catchers in hits just because he gets so many more plate appearances that even though he's a relatively low batting average guy, I would imagine that happened last year. I don't love the Schwarber Raleigh combo. I hate locking up my UT that early as well. It just makes getting through the rest of the draft more complicated. So I wouldn't do it, but I think Scott would certainly be open to it.
So would you lean with just going one of those elite pitchers with whoever's available in that range usually? Let's say it's a I don't know, Gunnar Henderson or Caminero or like, whoever, like Corbin Carroll if he's there with the hammy.
That would be my view. Yeah.
What about pocket aces? Any chance he'd do that?
I think it's a worthwhile. I do wonder what the extra 3 pitching categories are.
Right. He didn't include that.
Because if they lean towards starters, that could just make Skubal and Crochet or Skubal and Skeens or whatever even more valuable.
Yeah, like if it's let's say quality starts in like K per 9 or something.
Yeah,
like that.
those stats. Yeah. Now you're dominating 6 out of the 8 categories for pitchers. I think pocket aces might be the way I'd lean if that's the case.
This next one is from Adam in Garden City. I am in a 12-team head-to-head categories league with OBP instead of batting average, and it's a 1-catcher league. I have elected to be the last manager to draft a catcher in my slow draft, but there's still too much talent to consider. My options that I feel obligated to consider are Adley Rutschman, Kyle Teel, Carter Jensen, not feeling Yainer Diaz's 284 OBP from 2025.
Yeah, Yainer Diaz is a low OBP guy, although I would guess 2024 was pretty good when he hit 290.
It probably was barely over 300.
He hit 299 with a 325 OBP. So 325 you can live with, but he had a 308 OBP the year before while hitting 282. So yeah, that's
split the difference. I probably would expect like a 305, 310.
Yeah.
Like for OBP, I think I'd probably go Adley, but man, I'm just not convinced he's a good hitter anymore.
That is my concern. I might lean Adley and Jensen. I do think once you're already the last player with a catcher, that's your last pick, right? And just whoever the best, if Adley's still there with your last pick, do that. If it's Carter Jensen, do that. Probably not Kyle Teel. We did learn on Wednesday that he is going to miss 4 to 6 weeks with a hamstring injury, I think.
That darn WBC strikes again.
You know, I was watching the game when we were talking yesterday. It was during the podcast that he left the game, and I almost mentioned it. And I was like, I don't want to confuse Nick Pollock with a hitter. So
this isn't hitter list we have on here.
So it's not Kyle Teel, but I'm totally fine waiting for whichever of those. It would be Adley would be the edge, but
I think
Jensen's more fun.
Yeah, I would probably go Adley there as well. And then again, it's a 1-catcher league. If Adley doesn't work the first month, all right, cut him for whatever catcher has been good in the first.
Because even if Yainer Diaz isn't a great source of OBP, he should be good at everything else for a catcher. So
I think so.
He's probably still a very viable starter there.
This next one is from Mike. When researching batters and pitchers, which do you consider the most important analytical stat to look at for a roto league that includes OBP? So he asks about like OPS, WRC plus, barrel rate, etc. Yeah. If I had to choose, and I don't think that there's just one that does everything, Chris, but if I had to choose, I would probably say xWOBA on StatCast. As just kind of because it looks at plate discipline along with quality of contact and it spits out a number. And those are things that we talk about a lot. So I would say xWOBA for a hitter and K- walk rate for a pitcher.
Yeah. I think both of those are a good call.
All right. This next one is from John.
I do think it's worth noting. You shouldn't just use one number.
Right.
Like the question is what is the single most important thing? And I would say xWOBA would plays a heavy part in my analysis, but you don't have to take just one thing into account. You shouldn't. You should consider the total breadth of a player's skill set.
Yeah. So we're looking at, we talk about this stuff all the time. It's K percentage, walk percentage for hitters. So plate discipline, but also underlying plate discipline stuff, zone contact, swing rate, chase rate, things like that. And then all the expected stats, XBA, X-slug, xWOBA, average exit velocity, hard hit rate, barrel rate. So it's, we're constantly looking at all of those things from the hitter side. And then, pitchers, it's just, it's never ending, Chris. It's, K- walk rate is kind of the starting point, but you have all the ERA estimators with FIP and XFIP, XERA, Sierra. You have swinging strike rate. You have all the other different things on StatCast. You could look at specific whiff rates on pitches and xWOBA against certain pitches and things like that. So it's it gets really, really down to the nitty gritty. It's up to you. Like how deep, how much time do you want to put into looking into pitchers? Because honestly, you can You could do it all day if you wanted to. This next one is from John. I am in a standard 5x5 roto draft with deep rosters, 30 players deep. Pitchers are 5 starters, 2 relievers, and 2 pitcher spots. I generally go thrifty on closers. Try and get 2 to 3 cheap closers later, but always do like to pick up a late round elite setup man for ratios and strikeout help. Maybe even some more wins or surprise saves here and there. Who are some elite setup men that fit this mold that I should be targeting in rounds 25 to 30 of the draft?
Okay. I think the first one that comes to mind is definitely Brian Abreu, who...
But he's probably moving up.
He's moving up for sure because he seems like he'll have a chance to get some
We
saves.
did learn that Josh Hader is going to start the season on IL.
So Brian Abreu probably will be a top 200 pick, maybe a top 150 pick in a lot of leagues the rest of the way. And it's possible he just ends up the closer the whole season and is a top 10 guy, right? If Hader suffers setbacks. I would say you want to prioritize some of those Rays guys like Garrett Clevenger, who will probably get some saves of his own. Hunter Gaddis on Cleveland, maybe. Tyler Rogers on the Blue Jays. Jeremiah Estrada on the Padres. He's going to have a ton of strikeouts.
Matt Brash will get a lot of
Matt
strikeouts
Brash.
ratios, but I'm not sure he'll get like any saves really.
Yeah. Matt Strahm.
Robert Suarez with the Braves.
Robert Suarez with the Braves. Matt Strahm or Lucas Erceg, but I think Matt Strahm's a better pitcher than Lucas Erceg. But if you think Carlos Estevez has a good chance of losing his job, Jose Alvarado for the Phillies is still likely to be very, very good. I know they have Yohan Duran, but Alvarado should still be a very impactful pitcher for them. Jose Ferrer won't get a lot of strikeouts, but he should be very good as a setup man for the Mariners. There's a decent number of those guys out there. I think you just look for
at some of the Cardinals guys like Jojo Romero, Matt Swanson.
Those guys are tough because I don't think they're going to be. I don't think they're great pitchers. You know, that's the concern I have. So when you're looking at non-closers, Jeremiah Estrada would be near the top of the list. Fernando Cruz for the Yankees is going to get a lot of strikeouts. Edwin Uceda is going to be what?
Luke Weaver.
Yeah.
Adrian Morejon had 13 wins last year. It's just
that's not going to happen again.
Yeah, it's not predictable, but you know, that tells me he is used for multiple innings and he's used in big spots. So
yeah, for sure.
And he's have good ratios.
Tanner Scott for the Dodgers. I think he'll be better than he was last year. I don't know why things got so bad for him last year. Yeah.
All right, this next one is from Kent. Who do you think will be the Rockies' first baseman? Everything I read is TJ Rumfield or Charlie Condon, but hardly anything written about Troy Johnston. I know Blake Krim is also in that mix as well. I get Rumfield is a, quote, new management guy, but everybody seems really quiet on Johnston. Johnston, former Marlins?
Former Marlins farmhand. He did make his major league debut last year. Was okay. It was a 750 OPS, which at Coors Field, he makes a decent amount of contact. There's not a ton of pop there. I don't know. Troy Johnston, the problem is he's 28, so it's hard to project much there. TJ Rumfeld, I think, is a couple years younger. He's 25. He's a former Yankees guy.
Yeah.
Who has very good plate discipline, doesn't strike out very much. Those contact skills could work out well in Colorado. And then Condon is kind of the high upside wild card guy where he was a top prospect. I think he's probably still a top 100-ish guy, but definitely not a slam dunk because he had a pretty disappointing first professional season. He's having a nice spring. There has been a lot of talk about him having a chance to win that job. I think it's probably Condon or bust as far as fantasy relevance. Like maybe one of those guys could go on a little run, but it's probably not likely that TJ Rumfeld or Troy Johnston is going to be good enough to matter in most fantasy leagues. Condon at least has the upside too, is my read.
Yeah, and Condon, when he first made his debut, I think it was the year he was drafted or maybe the year after, he was awful. But last season, he actually did make some adjustments and he improved. And out in the Arizona Fall League, looked like he made a conscious effort to make more contact and strike out less. He didn't hit for as much power, so it was like a clear trade-off there. But so far this spring, we've kind of seen like a good blend of, him hitting for some really high exit velocity things and some long home runs, and he's kept the strikeouts down. So he has a chance. I mean, even if it's not opening day, I think he's probably up pretty early on in the season. So I am decently interested to see what Charlie Condon could do if given an opportunity there with the Rockies.
Agreed.
This next one is from Tyler. I play in a redraft league with 2 NA spots for guys not on a major league roster. Who are the players who likely won't make the opening day roster, who have the potential for the biggest fantasy impact in 2026? So we're looking at top prospects, Chris, who will probably be up early on in the season.
Oh boy, that's a big question. Hold on, let me.
The first one that comes to mind for me, just because I've been pretty excited about him all off season, is Robbie Snelling with the Marlins.
Yeah, unlikely to be in the opening day rotation at this point, but should be up in the first half.
I would put Jonah Tong in that conversation.
Jonah Tong should be up relatively quickly. Carson Bench, if he doesn't make the team, should have a chance relatively quickly. Aiden Miller, although he's dealing with that back issue, so I'm not sure how much that's going to slow him down. Colt Emerson, if he's not the Mariners' second baseman, doesn't sound like he will be, is a name to keep an eye on.
Any of Konnor Griffin or McGonigal, if they're not on the Pirates or Tigers, those are just like the clear top 2.
Yes.
So
the Twins guys, Walker Jenkins and Emmanuel Rodriguez, are both.
Rodriguez had a really good spring.
Yeah, they're both having good springs. They've both dealt with a lot of injuries. They're both super toolsy. There's not much blocking either of them, so those are names to know. Peyton Tolley, if he doesn't make the Red Sox rotation. Travis Bazzana, if he doesn't make the Guardians, he should be up relatively quickly. Thomas White, although he's had was it an oblique injury?
Yeah.
That's probably makes it more like second half. I don't think Liam Doyle is going to move as quickly just because for the Cardinals, they're likely to go Quinn Matthews first.
Yeah.
If an opening comes up.
I think Jet Williams with the Brewers is
Williams is a good one.
Ryan Waldschmidt with the D-backs.
Yep. The third baseman for the Mets is Jacob Reimer. I could see if an injury comes up, he could move fairly quickly. Maybe George Lombard for the Yankees in the first half if shortstop becomes a big need. Connolly Early if he doesn't make the rotation. Parker Messick if he doesn't make the rotation. Yeah. Carson Williams is a name that has been kind of forgotten, but there is some like Willy Adames upside for Carson Williams of the Rays if it doesn't sound like he's going to be in the opening day lineup.
Elmer Rodriguez with the Yankees and Josh Baez with the Cardinals.
Yeah, Josh Baez having a very nice spring as well.
Those are a lot of names.
Yeah, we just said a bunch of names. But
again,
probably some other ones we didn't.
The shortstops are up at the top. It's Connor Griffin and Kevin McGonigal if they don't make their respective teams. And then after that, honestly, the first one I mentioned, Robbie Snelling, is probably the one I'm most excited to stash after those two, to be honest.
And then a guy who has an opportunity on a bad team, Kalen Culpepper, could move relatively quickly too.
Yeah, he is on the Minnesota Twins. This last one is from Chris, who needs a little bit of fantasy justice.
Dun dun.
Hey guys, I know you are deep into draft prep season, but I need help. I run a 14-team head-to-head points league, super casual. For years, we have been using the CBS point scoring system. There was just one problem. We play as a daily lineup league with a max of 5 moves per week. Streaming pitchers has become OP, and since this is a super casual league, I love that he keeps emphasizing that. Some managers make very few moves all season, and some managers are streaming 5 pitchers a week, making the league very top-heavy. So this year, we decided to make changes to the scoring. For example, innings pitched went from 3 points to 2. Earned runs went from -3 to -2. Maybe from -1 to -2. That would make more sense. And then others, what I thought were minute changes. After the draft, we realized that Aaron Judge is projected for 600 points and Skubal is projected for 250. Some pitchers are even projected for negative points. Skubal is projected to finish as the 250th ranked player. Now, half the league is saying change it back, and others are saying, no, I drafted with this scoring in mind. As the commission, I don't think we can change anything since the draft is completed. What say you? Should we just play it out, live with some of the insane negative scores pitchers will give you, or do I say this is a casual league and it's supposed to be fun? We should change it back.
All right, so it's a casual league, first of all.
We've got that down.
You can't change the scoring after the draft.
No.
That's a big red line. Like, you can't do that. I'm not opposed to just redrafting.
I was thinking that too, but everybody has to be on board. If there's somebody who just has a stacked team and they really like what they wound up with, then you just got to play it out.
But that's, but the scoring here is so wacky. Like, the difference between Judge and School being 350 points.
That's true.
Is, like, yes, everyone should read the rules, but if there's one really stacked team, like one person just really didn't worry about pitching at all, I don't know. This doesn't sound like it will be a fun way to play fantasy baseball. It is ultimately what I'm coming back to. And that is always what your priority should be as a commissioner. Is what will be the best way to manage this league that everybody has fun and stays into the league. And I don't think this scoring format is likely to do that. And hey, who doesn't want to draft again? The draft is the best part of the year. So my judgment would be just draft over with different rules. I think you went overboard. You tried to fix a problem, and turns out you screwed it up a little bit. And that's okay. We all make mistakes. I would rather just try to restart the league, start a new draft, and look, maybe lower the max of moves per week if you're worried about people spamming streaming starters and take advantage of it. You might be able to do an innings maximum, which could help fix that issue. So anything above a certain point just doesn't count. But this is always the problem with the daily league, is if there's an imbalance in how focused everyone is on streaming, it can create a lopsided league where you're just benefiting the guy who is most interested in min-maxing rather than the best player. Mm-hmm. So this is kind of always my concern with the daily lineups.
Yeah, it's a tough situation. Again, I think everybody needs to be on board. I think the most logical thing is just to try and find a happy medium, keep tweaking that scoring format, but make sure you test it out first. Like,
you gotta look.
You don't want to draft again and then realize, oh crap, we messed it up again. So just like fine tune it to what it needs to be, but then everyone has to be on board to redraft the league. And again, it's like I don't think you could just do that unless everybody is on board. So that's what I would say. But I think it is logical to do that in this sense. So
I agree.
All right, we're going to wrap there. For Chris, I am Frank. Thanks as always for tuning in to Fantasy Baseball Today. Please make sure to follow and leave a 5-star rating on Apple or Spotify. And we will be back again next week. Bye-bye.